England look ahead to Wales clash following the goalless draw against the USA. England are all but through to the knockout stages of the World Cup despite a disappointing performance against the United States. Grab all you need to know. Also on the programme, train driver strikes and weather warnings to cause more travel chaos. Members of the ASLEF union from 11 different train operators are taking part in industrial action today. And death at Manson migrant facility may have been diphtheria, Home Office has said. A man who dies at Manson migrant centre in Kent could have diphtheria, the Home Office has suggested.
This is STV News with Stephen Woolrich.
Good evening. England were lucky to end the game goalless, with the US coming closest to breaking the deadlock despite the Three Lions dominating possession. Boos greeted the final whistle as the side blew their chance to qualify for the World Cup knockout phase with a match to spare in turgid draw in the US. Monday's 6-2 triumphing of Iran represented their best start to a major tournament, but Friday's loss, and a lacklustre performance brought Gareth Southgate's side back down to earth. A win for the Three Lions would have secured their place in the final 16 of the tournament following tonight's clash at the Equator's Al Bayt Stadium, and provided England can avoid a big defeat against Wales, who suffered an upsetting defeat against Iran on Friday, they will still progress to the knockout stages. England dominated possession early on the match, but the US still held their own against attacks and their share of chances, and were known and keen to show they would be no pushover. A near miss by Weston McKennie at the 25th minute, and marked in the box, flew just over the crossbar, but shortly followed with a powerful shot by Christian Pulisic with a retreat off it. Speaking on Saturday, Kieran Trippier understands why England fans jeered the team following the match, but insisted they would be ready for a battle against Wales. Of course the fans want to see goals and to win matches, said Trippier. But all I can say is that the commitment from the boys is there. We give 100% in every single game. Of course we understand the frustration because we didn't win the game, but we gave everything. A point is a good result. The one thing about my teammates is myself is we give everything. As soon as we cross that white line, we give everything to win. Unfortunately we didn't win, but it's a good point. We kept a clean sheet. It is a good point for us in the group, and we just move on now. Focus on the next game. On Saturday, England manager Gareth Southgate said he was confident about England's chances of progressing around to the round of 16, and Wales manager Robert Page appeared to write off Welsh hopes after their draw with the US was compounded by Friday's late 2-0 heartbreak against Iran. Our first objective is to qualify from the group, Southgate said. We've still a little bit to do in terms of doing that, but we're also still in pole position to win the group if we can win the next game against Wales next week, and that's got to be our aim. That's of course going to be a very, very tough game again. Wales are going to be hurt by what's happened today, and we're going to have to be at our very best. Towards the end of the first half, the USA gained more and more control of the ball, putting more pressure on England to break the deadlock. England's Bukayo Saka had a chance just in front of the 6-yard line, but his shot flew straight over the goalpost. The biggest opportunity for England was Mason Mount's shot from just outside the box at the 45th minute, which was deflected by USA goalkeeper Matt Turner. Gareth Southgate made the first move to switch things up in attempts to break the deadlock, bringing on Jack Grealish and Jordan Henderson in place of Raheem Sterling and Jude Bellingham. With a quarter of the game remaining, England had just a single shot on target. Grealish's impact was felt early as he made a diving run down the left before being crowded out in the box. Marcus Rashford got a run out and his tame 86th minute strike was just a second shot on target for an out of sorts England. Kane's first sniff of the goal came deep into the stoppage time as he headed a Luke Shaw free kick wide off the post. England left frustrated but also lucky to draw the game 0-0. Now, a fresh strike by train drivers will cause more travel chaos for passengers on Saturday amid warnings of further walkouts in a long-running dispute over pay. Members of Ashlef with 11 train operators will walk out, causing huge disruption with the industry warning of significantly reduced services across the country. Passengers were urged to plan ahead and check before they travel throughout the whole weekend. Trains that are running will start later on Saturday morning and finish much earlier than usual, with services typically running between 7:30am and 6:30pm on the day of the strike. Well, this causes huge disruption to rugby fans travelling to England versus South Africa at Twickenham and to Cardiff for the Wales and Australia International are being advised to check with their train operator for travel updates, as many trains across the network will be effective. Mick Whelan, General Secretary of Ashlef, said progress in talks aimed at resolving the disruption had been incredibly slow. We don't want to be in this position, but no one is listening to us, he said. Our members did not receive a pay rise during the pandemic, and we are being told that train companies can't afford more than a 2% rise. Only the government can take the shackles off the employers. We are in this for the long haul, and our members want us to go harder and faster. Speaking to STV News on Saturday, Mr Whelan suggested the public were supportive of the strike action. We find ourselves, for the very first time ever, I think, with a rail dispute. We've got public approval ratings running 49 to 64%, he said. Everyone has a family currently touched by the high cost of living, high energy prices. We should have, and everyone should have, a pay rise. Mr Whelan is due to meet with Transport Secretary Mark Harper next week to discuss the dispute. Daniel Mann, Director of the Industry Operations at the Rail Delivery Group, said the strike by Ashlef brings more uncertainty for passengers and businesses by disrupting their weekend plans. While we will do all that we can to minimise disruption, if you are going to travel on the routes affected, please plan ahead and check the latest travel advice on National Railway inquiries. Passengers with advance, off-peak or anytime tickets affected by the strike can use their ticket either on the day before the date on the ticket or up to and including the 29th of November. Passengers can also change their tickets to travel on alternative date and get a refund if their train is cancelled or rescheduled. Companies where no services are expected to run include Avanti West Coast, Cross Country, Chiltern and East Midlands, while others including Great Western and Greater Anglia say services will be extremely limited. The Rail, Maritime and Transport Union has called a series of strikes in the coming weeks at Network Rail and 14 train operators in its dispute over jobs, pay and conditions will cripple services. Now, with the train strikes causing disruption to many parts of the UK, we've even got more disruption as a yellow weather warning is to bring rain and strong winds. The Met Office has issued warnings for rain in parts of Wales, parts of Scotland and areas in southern England. The warnings in Wales and England come into force at 2 p.m. on Saturday and will remain in place until 3 a.m. on Sunday. The warning in Scotland is in place from midday until midnight on Saturday. The areas of England and Wales covered by the weather warning, which include Cardiff, Swansea, Portsmouth and Cornwall, can expect as much as 40 to 60 millimetres of rain, particularly over hills in South Wales and South West England. The rain will be accompanied by strong winds with gusts of 45 to 55 miles per hour expected over the hills and around the coasts. In other news, a man's death at Manson Migrant Processing Centre may have been caused by dysthropia infection, the Home Office has said. Initial tests at the hospital near the centre in Kent, which has struggled with overcrowding and outbreaks of disease, came back negative, but a follow-up PCR test was positive. Helmets filled with urine, pornographic videos and stories of racist bullying among the accounts of culture within the London Fire Brigade. An independent review lays bare with the experiences endured by members of staff, with the report referring to a toxic culture and a conclusion that finds the organisation of institutionally misogynist and racist. A senior nurse has told STV News why she feels she has no choice other than to walk out this December, as nurses announced they would strike for the first time ever over dispute over pay and working pressures. Senior staff nurse Jodie Elliott said the situation has never been this bad amid chronic staff shortages, overwhelmed hospitals and mounting winter pressures. And a day without mass shootings in America is now far rarer than a day with one. On Wednesday, the country woke once again to familiar news, just days after 5 people were shot and killed at an LGBTQ+ nightclub in Colorado. An employee had opened fire at a Walmart supermarket in Virginia, killing 6 people before taking his own life. And finally, Agatha Christie's West End hit The Mousetrap finally heads for Broadway after 70 years. The world's longest running play, which has been watched by over 10 million theatregoers, was first staged in London in 1952 and has never been performed in New York. Well, quite what is the secret to its success remains closely guarded, but here's our reporter, Rishi Davda.
A murder mystery that's been solved on the West End stage nearly 29,000 times. Agatha Christie's The Mousetrap is celebrating its 70th year, although the author herself was never sure what audiences found so appealing.
Do you think The Mousetrap is the best play that's ever run in London, Mrs. Christie?
Oh, I'd hardly say that. No, not by a long way.
Why has it been so phenomenally successful, then?
Well, there again, I don't know. People like it, but who can say why?
Miss Agatha Christie has written a new play, which will open this evening in London's West End.
The Whodunit premiered in 1952, with Richard Attenborough and Sheila Sim playing the lead roles. 5 decades on, the late Queen Elizabeth watched the play, just one name on a list of 10 million who've seen the show. In its long history, the show has been staged across the Atlantic before, but never on New York's Broadway, until now.
Seems he was killed in the costume store.
Interest from abroad spiked following the release of the film See How They Run, a murder mystery set against a backdrop of The Mousetrap's 100th performance.
How much longer do you intend to hold us all hostage?
I just made the decision recently. I thought, no, it's time. We get an enormous number of Americans coming to the theatre during the summer. Agatha Christie is a huge, huge phenomenon in America. And I just thought, come on, it's time.
This afternoon, in recognition of 70 years, the actors put on a special midday matinee in honour of previous cast members and Agatha Christie.
She knew what she was doing, and I think it always keeps that, I don't know who did it, feel.
And people in the bar, when I came to see you in it, genuinely, in the interval, had their little bit of pain with thinking, who do you think? I think so-and-so did it.
Agatha Christie is still to this day the world's best-selling novelist.
I've been coming here for as long as I can remember.
And with the success of The Mousetrap, she's also penned the world's longest-running play. Rishi Davda, News at 10.
And just before we go, some news that has just come into us. The 80s icon Ernie Cara has been found dead. Fame and Flashdance singer died at the age of 63 after Oscar and Grammy winning career. The 80s star sang and co-wrote the iconic theme to Flashdance, What a Feeling, and won the Academy Award for the Best Original Song. Cara's publicist, Judith Moose, said the singer died at her home in Miami, Florida, and a memorial will be planned for fans. Judith described her as a beautifully gifted soul. It is with profound sadness that on behalf of her family I announce the passing of Ernie Cara. And that is it from me this evening. The national weather is coming up next with everything you need to know on that yellow warning for rain and winds. But from me and all of the late news weekend team, good night. And thank you for watching.